All right, so we've talked about this introduction, and we've talked about the art of this deal. Now we want to talk about the logo, the vision, the mission. And I created a very specific logo for this mission, and it's a very loaded thing. Number one, we want it to be a multicultural logo. So we want to talk about Damascus steel. Damascus steel was a technology that was lost to history for a period of time. And we've struggled, some say we've struggled to reproduce the exact same quality of Damascus steel. And some say that that has more to do with the reality that there was an ore that we found and we were mining, and the way that it was refined allowed it to become this very specific form of Wootz steel. And science is just so complicated, and understanding what it took to succeed at that might have been, we knew that the process worked, but we didn't understand why the process worked. And so there are things like that, and so that's the reason why it was lost to history for a period of time. Now, it might also equally be true, but there wasn't a good way to do this with calculus, but Archimedes was killed by a Roman soldier, and so that set the world back about 1,500 years. Working together as the world, and you think about something like Wootz steel, it was mined in South Asia and processed, and part of it was processed in South Asia. It makes its way into the Middle East, and they turned it into the top quality craft of weapons and swordsmanship of that day. And so, again, but we want to be swords to plowshares, and so swords to plowshares references swords, and so again, the Damascus texture works well with this logo, this mission. And here's the thing, if you have this fully privatized backup government strategy, and you really understand all of the things that I'm going for here, then if you have this backup government strategy that is provided through the internet and technology, then your government is your means of production, but it's also the private sector. And so you have the same definition of communism. And so these are, if we get more soldiers that get people to have conversations like this, we will have a more discerning and a population that thinks more critically, and we will be less likely to end up in a reactionary war, because we'll be more likely to probe ways that we can appreciate other cultures and champion other cultures. We need to practice that. And so, again, you try to come up with a strategy like this where you get people to realize something like this has an eerily similar definition to communism, and it gets government evolution to come full circle and get us to realize that some of these fights, maybe we shouldn't be ending up in some of these fights. If we could talk more about these things and we had more strategies for how we could work together more, we would be having more conversations. We'd be less likely to end up in a reactionary conversation, because we're practicing deeper conversations about solution development and collaboration. And so I go so far with this as to say, I think, space debris is a problem, and we want to be talking about militaries working together on core satellite grids, such that you don't have militaries worrying about the military capabilities of another military, and they're launching these satellite grids, and they're like, we got to get our more advanced satellite grid up, and we just do that forever, trying to just race to get more advanced satellite grids up, and worrying about the capabilities of the other satellite grids, and just constantly trying to chase after building the most competitive stick in case something happens, rather than work together on some of these key layers, and then we don't have to worry about the space debris, and we don't have to have military officials across the world, across every different culture, worrying about the military capabilities of every different culture, because now you're working together on some of the core layers. And why wouldn't we do that? Because then we get, if there's a splinter cell or a radical group, you want to work with another nation to address that. And they're a threat to that nation as well. If we get nations to want to work together on productivity and making the world better, and we just admit that working together in these ways is what allows that to happen, and we try to protect that and get every nation to bond over this, over making the world a better place, over having this more advanced society, then we have world peace. But we have to set this goal. We have to have a set of initiatives like this. And so this is the perfect logo for this mission, this vision, this brand. And there is a path to world peace through this, through getting companies to work together on these key layers of these technology stacks, and extending the US Constitution such that our separation of powers now goes into these articles of incorporation and the definition of how these major market verticals come together. And thank you for watching. I appreciate you.